In the arid coastal desert of southern Peru, etched into the high, windless plateau, lies a series of massive geoglyphs that defy the logic of the ancient world. Spanning over 170 square miles, these Nazca lines depict animals, plants, and strange geometric shapes. For over 1,500 years, they remained hidden in plain sight, as their true form can only be seen from the sky. The mystery began in the late 1920s, when commercial pilots began flying over the Peruvian pampa. They were stunned to see a giant hummingbird, a monkey with a spiral tail, and a massive spider looking back at them from the dust. These weren't just spooky scratches. They were precise, mathematical masterpieces of heavy labor, created by removing the dark, oxidized stones to reveal lighter sand. The first major purpose theory was proposed by Paul Kosak and Maria Reich in the 1940s. They believed the lines were a giant astronomical calendar. They noted that some of the straight lines pointed directly toward the sunrise and sunset on the summer and winter solstices. To Reich, the monkey and the spider were constellations in a pre-Inca zodiac etched into the earth. Reich spent 40 years living in the desert, armed with a broom to keep the heavy dust off the lines. She believed the Nazca people were astronomer priests who used the geoglyphs to predict the arrival of rain and the timing of harvests. The lines were a mirror of the heavens, a way for the people to synchronize their lives with the movements of the planets and the stars. However, modern computer models have challenged the calendar theory. While some lines align with celestial bodies, the majority do not. This led to a more spooky and terrestrial theory, the water cult. In one of the driest places on Earth, water was more valuable than gold. Some researchers believe the lines are actually maps of underground aquifers and spiritual pathways. The water theory suggests that the trapezoids and triangles are prayer platforms where the Nazca people gathered to perform rituals for rain. The straight lines often lead toward mountain peaks where the water originated. By walking these sacred paths, the people believed they were vibrating the earth to call forth the life-giving flow from the hidden Puquio's aqueducts. Then there is the aviation theory, popularized by Jim Woodman. He argued that the Nazca people must have seen the lines from above. He pointed to ancient pottery depicting what looked like hot air balloons and kites. He even built a functional balloon, using only materials available to the Nazca. This spooky idea suggests the lines were a landing strip for an ancient air force. This naturally leads to the most famous fringe theory, the alien airfield. Erich von Däniken argued in the 1960s that the long, flat trapezoids were runways for extraterrestrial spacecraft. He believed the Nazca were primitive witnesses to high-tech visitors and created the lines to invite the gods back. This theory, while heavy on imagination, lacks archaeological evidence. The anthropomorphic figure known as the astronaut adds a layer of spooky dread to the pampa. Located on a steep hillside, it is a 100-foot-tall figure with a large round head and huge eyes, waving a hand at the sky. Some see a space traveler. Archaeologists see a shaman or a fisherman god. It remains the most unsettling portrait in the entire Nazca gallery. Newer research suggests a sensory purpose, the labyrinth. Some of the geoglyphs, like the Great Pelican, are made of a single continuous line that never crosses itself. It is theorized that the Nazca people didn't just look at the lines. They walked them in a meditative ceremonial procession. The movement of hundreds of feet would activate the sacred energy of the site. The monkey geoglyph is particularly mysterious. It depicts a spider monkey, an animal that only lives in the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of miles away over the Andes Mountains. This suggests the Nazca had a heavy connection to the jungle and perhaps used the lines as a memorial to the exotic, a way to ground their far-reaching trade routes in the sacred soil of the desert. The spider is another anatomical puzzle. It is an incredibly accurate depiction of a riccinule, a rare arachnid found in the Amazon. What's spooky is that the drawing includes the creature's reproductive organ, which is located on its leg and is invisible to the naked human eye. This implies the Nazca possessed microscopic vision or some unknown biological knowledge. Archaeologists have found ceramic offerings and seashells smashed at the intersections of the lines. This points toward a ritual of destruction. The lines may have been temporary altars that were killed, or closed after a ceremony was completed. The desert wasn't just a canvas. It was a living, breathing temple that was constantly being updated with new prayers. The heavy air of the Nazca Plateau is part of the protection. The ground is covered in a layer of pebbles that protects the lighter sand from the wind. This geological miracle has preserved the lines for millennia. But modern threats like highways and illegal mining are deleting pieces of the mystery. The gods' canvas is finally being erased by the footprints of modern man. Is it a giant weaving? Some anthropologists note that the Nazca were masters of textiles. They suggest the lines are a macro map of weaving patterns, a way to project the beauty of their cloth onto the landscape itself. The desert was a loom, and the lines were the threads that bound the community to the spirit world. It was an artistic offering of a massive scale. The mystery turned dark with the discovery of Kawachi, a massive ceremonial center nearby. Excavations revealed trophy heads, skulls that had been modified and hung from ropes. Some believe the Nazca lines were paths for the dead, a series of runways for the flying spirits of their ancestors. The geoglyphs were a city for the shadows that lived in the sky. Could they be musical instruments? Some researchers have noticed that the lines act as acoustic channels. When someone speaks or sings at one end of a long line, the sound carries perfectly to the other end, even over long distances. The Nazca Plateau might have been a giant soundboard, where the voice of the people was amplified to reach the ears of the sky gods. The purpose remains unsolved because it is likely multiple. The lines weren't built in a day. They were added to for centuries. They probably started as water maps, evolved into ritual paths, and eventually became a communal language of art and astronomy. They are a layered mystery, where each generation etched its own hope and fear into the dry earth. In 2018, drones discovered 50 more geoglyphs in the nearby Palpa region. These new lines depict warriors and families and are much older than the Nazca animals. This suggests the need to draw on the earth was a deep-seated human impulse in the Andes. It was a history in the dirt, a way to ensure that the small people of the desert would never be forgotten. The Nazca spider and the astronaut continue to stare at the stars. They represent the ultimate long-term communication. The Nazca knew their message wouldn't be seen by their neighbors, but by someone high above. Whether that someone was a god, a bird, or a future pilot. The lines are a heavy testament to the human desire to be seen from the infinite. As the sun sets over the pampa, the lines glow with a spectral light. The shadows stretch across the monkey and the condor, making them look like they are moving. It is a living map of a culture that vanished, leaving behind only their grand designs. The Nazca Plateau is a spooky mirror, reflecting the magnificence and the madness of the ancient human mind. The final mystery lies in the center. There is no central line, no main point. The lines are a web without a spider. This suggests a decentralized society where every clan or family had their own sacred path to maintain. The Nazca lines were a collective masterpiece, a mystery of universal cooperation that we have yet to replicate in our modern world. The Nazca lines are a masterpiece of landscape architecture. They are a story of stones and stars, a puzzle that proves that the desert is not empty. It is full of symbols and secrets, a reminder that the ancient ones were looking up long before we ever left the ground. The Nazca Plateau is the eye of the earth, looking out into the heavy silence of space. As you fly over Peru today, look down. You are seeing a message that was written 2,000 years ago. It is a heavy reminder that we are just guests in a world that was already charted by geniuses who used only string and sand. The Nazca lines are the signature of a people, a mystery that will remain as long as the desert stays dry and the gods stay in the sky. The story ends where it began, with the view from above. We are still trying to read the desert. The Nazca lines are the world's longest letter, a mystery of faith and geometry. They are a reminder that the most spooky things are often the ones that were meant to be beautiful. The pampa remains silent, keeping the purpose of the lines in its ancient, dusty heart.